All right.
From Vermont to upstate New York, this is The Anything Show with John Francois, featuring Andrew Vandertunt of the Lifestyle of a Gay Black Boy podcast. Now, here's that John guy.
Get out of town, it's me and Andrew from Rochester, New York. I'm broadcasting from Colchester, Vermont. Hey, Andrew, how's it going, man?
Hola, it's fantastic.
We got a fantastic show coming up. Coming up later on, our conversation with Tim Bysiegel, host of the Funny Science Fiction and Pop Culture Addict podcast. Wonderful guy. He's interviewed the likes of Carol Baskin, the actor Sam Witwer, who you might know from shows like Smallville and Dexter. So stay tuned for our conversation with Tim. For Let's Get Viral, we break into a song at a restaurant. Well, not we, but some random girl. You'll hear that in a bit. And for our headlines, we talk about a soda that tastes like outer space. Listen, subscribe, follow, rate, review The Anything Show with John Francois on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you get podcasts. Find us on social at facebook.com/The Anything Show and at Anything Show Francois on Instagram and TikTok. We are also on YouTube. Andrew, I know that support for The Anything Show is not on our own, because I think if it was on our own, then we would be filthy rich by now. But we do need support, you know?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Give me some haunting horror music. Support for The Anything Show. Coming from A Better Utopia. If you're a fan of horrific tales of monsters, edge of your seat thrills, and heartwarming romance, then me and Andrew have the podcast for you. A Better Utopia, an audiobook in podcast form made by an audiobook lover for audiobook fans. Now, Andrew, it's set in an alternative history, where the story follows SGT Yulhum Dun as he returns from a long hellish war back to a country plague with dark magic and even darker mystery. You can fall in love with characters and have your heartstrings pulled, as no one is safe in this tale from the things that lurk in cloaks or hide in shadows. The best part is this story that is absolutely free. You don't have to pay for it. It's an absolutely free story that is accessible on Apple, Spotify, Audible, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much to A Better Utopia for sponsoring The Anything Show. Andrew, what are your thoughts as we think about this chilling, entertaining horror experience?
I'm very excited. Anytime I hear the word utopia, I know some crazy stuff is about to go down, because utopia can exist.
Yeah, right? Crazy stuff like John eating food that's like 3 weeks old. Oh, Andrew. Yeah, Andrew was giving me a good lecture about that. You see, Tony, it's not just you. It's Andrew and everybody else. I get it. That lasagna that was made in 1995, I probably shouldn't eat it anymore. So there you go.
Before you eat it, just say may the odds be ever in your favor. Hunger Games it.
Yeah, I guess. Well, A Better Utopia, thank you so much. We have a wonderful new sponsor by way of them. Andrew, we had a little chilly horror thing. How about we, bring up the mood just a little bit with our other sponsor? Obviously, The Anything Show with John Francois is available on like pretty much every podcast app you can think of. And that's all because of podcast distribution platforms like not Utopia, by Disctopia. I got my Topias confused, Andrew.
One's a disc and one's inside of you. It's okay.
Ooh, I love things that are inside of me that's a disc. Like Dystopia. I know. With more features and flexibility than any other platform, from unlimited storage and uploads to multiple networks, Disctopia has it all. You can upload private or exclusive episodes, which they will pay you for. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, your podcast will be distributed everywhere via your RSS feed. You can build a podcast profile page, and on that profile page, you can manage multiple episodes. You got yourself an embeddable episode web player, all on a secure site. Unlimited downloads from your listeners and unique listener reports accessible through Disctopia. Web player analytics are all integrated with the best technology analytics. All on top of that, they give you 24/7 world-class customer support. Disctopia, giving you the creative freedom for all your podcasts with integrated merch. Just upload it all to one place, and then you can set your content to be downloadable or even stream only. So that's Disctopia if you're a podcaster looking to conveniently get your podcasts available everywhere. Disctopia. Give Disctopia a checkout, will ya? Right, Andrew?
Definitely. definitely. I'll check them out.
Yes. Alrighty, Andrew, since we sold our soul to the devil with all these sponsors, shall we get to the content that people desire so much? And that content being, let's see, I think I'm in the mood to go with some headlines. How about you?
I'm down for it.
Yes. It's our headlines. Let's start off with this one. Coca-Cola. They are trying something pretty bold. They're trying something called Coca-Cola Starlight. We don't know the real flavor. They just say that it's inspired by outer space, Andrew. So when you drink Coca-Cola Starlight, it's going to have notes reminiscent of stargazing around a campfire, as well as a cooling sensation that evokes the feeling of a cold journey to space. Now, Andrew, I'm concerned because the first thing I think of when I think outer space is that you cannot breathe. So I'm thinking like, because there's no air in outer space. So I'm like, all right, am I going to drink this Coke and just lose my breath all at once? Like, what's going to happen?
At that point, it's going to be called Choca-Cola or Choke Me. Like, oh my God, could you imagine drinking something and you get the sensation of choking? Take my money, Coca-Cola. Take it.
Well, you know what, Andrew, you have a sexual tolerance now, like nobody's business. I don't know if I've gotten to choking yet. So I think you can take that Coca-Cola and you can let me know how it turns out.
You know what? Next Valentine's Day, I got you. I think I'm going to buy myself a bottle.
There you go. All right, Andrew, apparently we need to be liked by a lot of people because this recent survey gives us 3 easy things we can do to make people like us more. Things like being seen more often, asking questions in conversations, and smiling. Oh, God. Like, that reminds me of that sexist thing where females are always told to smile all the time. I don't really care like what people think, Andrew, and I'm pretty sure you're the same way too. I feel like all we could do is just be ourselves and just see what happens.
Very true. I can't do anything different than I am. And I'm the type of person, I will pop up at a function for 5 minutes just so people see my face and then I leave.
There you go.
So I'm that person and people for some reason love it.
You make a grand entrance and you make a grand exit because you are a boss.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't even know I left the function. By the time you go and get me a drink, I'm like, hey, y'all, I'm back home in bed, but thank you.
Oh, God, the blackest person alive. Fashionably late, and then you fashionably leave early.
Right? And if it's a vegan party, I might leave with a plate or two.
I love it. Hey, you know what? I don't care what kid comes across and tells you on the street, hey, I'm lost. Can you help me? Don't fall for it, okay? I heard about this kid in Orlando, Andrew, who looked to be about 12, told a random woman he was lost, and asked if he could use her phone to call his parents. She said yes, because, hey, it's a kid. Turns out the kid was scamming this woman. He actually used her Venmo to send himself $4,000 while she wasn't looking. Now, Andrew, if you were 12 years old, what the heck would you do with $4,000?
I would have bought 4,000 Arizona iced teas.
Wow. Even back then, you were into Arizona iced teas.
It's the best thing to drink ever. It's almost better than water.
Yeah. To this woman, I think that you should have called the parents on the kid's behalf because, when you have your smartphone and we have all the credit card information, we have everything stored in our smartphone, anything that is easily confidential and accessible. Yeah, don't trust that to a 12-year-old kid. And also, who just has $4,000 sitting around? I mean, do you wonder like what this woman does for a living, Andrew?
I kind of wonder, I get the feeling that she's not into drug selling or anything street smart because she gave away her street smart card as soon as she handed that kid that phone.
Yeah.
She should have held it away, put it on speaker and said, what's the number?
Now, if it was like a 3-year-old that was lost, okay, maybe I would fall for that because a 3-year-old is in that innocent stage when they don't know much. But a 12-year-old, yeah, a 12-year-old has the smarts enough to know, oh, you got your phone and you got your $4,000? I'm going to buy me a yacht.
Look, they're going in. But even for a 3-year-old, I wouldn't have done it, John. I would have been like, look, you don't even know what a phone is at your age. Let's just find the police.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, speaking of all things big money, there's a cargo ship that's carrying up to 4,000 Porsches, and it caught fire on Wednesday in the Atlantic Ocean. The Portuguese Navy apparently rescued all 22 crew members, and now the ship is adrift. It's unclear what the next steps are. I feel like, Andrew, reading this story, first thing that came to mind was, oh my goodness, Jeff Bezos and his friends, what happened to their Porsches?
Oh, poor Jeff Bezos. He couldn't take them off into space with his dildo-shaped rocket. That sucks.
Yeah, now he's short a million some dollars. Oh, what will he do? Now he's only worth $5 gajillion instead of 6.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I'm just waiting in the oceans. She's going to get tired of us. She is coming to attack us. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
We keep polluting her.
Yeah, I know. Environmentalists, please make yourselves heard louder because we are not doing well. Alrighty, Uber. Andrew, do you use Uber a lot over there in Rochester?
I used to use it a lot.
Yeah, and what happened? You just got robbed and that was it?
No, unfortunately, one of my Uber drivers showed up drunk and I was not getting in the car. And then when I called for help, I didn't get much help from their customer service.
Oh my God. Ew.
Damn.
Wow. So that driver definitely does not deserve to give you a 1-star review because you're just a sober guy that's just like, hey, I'm trying to get to Pizza Hut. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Uber just rolled out a new feature that lets you see how many 1-star reviews you've gotten. So in other words, you know, how many drivers thought that you were a total jerk. So all you have to do is go to the privacy center in your settings and look for view my ratings. I wouldn't do this, Andrew, because I don't like to make myself feel crappy for fun. What about you?
Mm-hmm. I looked at mine and I was like, oh, okay, this is cute. But it's not something I would ever be like, I need to know. Like, I have to.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, maybe you'll enjoy this because you are a vegan and nutrition is your middle name. According to nutritionists, the best foods to eat if you're hungry before bed include walnuts, bananas, Greek yogurt with berries, and peanut butter, but on a rice cake. And it has to be natural peanut butter, none of that artificial crap that I love to eat whenever I get the chance. Andrew, look, I'm sorry. I know I'm going to die soon because of this, but I'm going to stick with just eating cupcakes before bed. You know, whatever. I'm not ashamed. What about you?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with eating cupcakes before bed. For me, I'm going for the walnuts because everything else here is quite complicated. You need spoons and the bananas taste like bananas. And, oh, God.
Wait, you don't want bananas to taste like bananas? There's something wrong with that?
Bananas taste terrible. I hate bananas. They are the worst food ever made.
Who are you? Are you even American? Bananas are awesome. They're a filling snack. They have a potassium thing to them. Like I don't know. It's like hard to explain, but it's like a mashed potato in penis form, but it's like a fruit. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and unfortunately, it makes sense so well because penises taste bad. So that's just like even worse.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to be stereotypical, but as a gay guy, you probably understand that, you know, from firsthand experience that penises do in fact taste. I've heard they taste rubbery. Is that accurate?
I mean, it depends on if the person's really clean, but they do have like a latexy, rubbery feeling once you get it deep in your throat.
Okay. All right, guys. Guys,
I did not mean to come out that way.
No, it's okay. I think what we have learned here via a public service announcement, guys, eat plenty of pineapple, and maybe it won't taste so bad.
Yes. Do yourself a favor and your partner a favor.
Yay. Alrighty, moving on to foods that are actually a little bit more edible than penises. How about taco-flavored jelly beans? You know, Easter Sunday, not too far away from now, Andrew, and in case you want to kind of mix it up, the Brock's people, who I think also give us that nasty candy corn. Brock's is coming up with this thing called Late Night Taco Truck Jelly Beans. And there are 6 flavors in each bag. So literally, you can get jelly beans with the flavors of beef taco, guacamole, salsa, horchata, margarita, and churro. What do you think about that, Andrew?
Okay, so I'm not going to lie. The horchata, margarito, and churro may be very delicious. All 3 of them together, actually.
Okay.
The others, jelly beans, have just gone too far. You've gone too far.
Yeah, hey, look, they really have. And frankly, given the fact that tacos are known to make you go number 2 very quickly, I just find it funny that maybe these jelly beans being taco flavored, it might have the same effect. You never know, Andrew. I mean, you know, someone could have explosive diarrhea just because of that little tiny jelly bean that's the size of their fingertip.
Very true. I just want to know, is it a flour tortilla flavor or a corn tortilla flavor in the taco?
Oh, maybe.
I need to know because it changes the difference altogether.
It could be a little bit of both. You never know.
Yeah, you know, it could be, what was the thing? The super burrito that Taco Bell used to make, how they had the flour inside the corn taco.
Oh, that's possible. All right. Never thought about it that way. All righty. Andrew and I have really shook our head, S-H-O-O-K, shook our head big time over this idea of caffeinated donuts from Hostess. Yes, Boost Jumbo Donuts. As if the regular donuts don't give you enough of a sugar high. Now, you can have donuts that have the same amount of caffeine as a cup of coffee. 2 flavors out right now, Andrew. Chocolate mocha and caramel macchiato. Now, knowing that there's a lot of kids out there that love donuts, I urge parents, please do not feed your kids caffeinated donuts. You already have enough trouble with them being hyper and messing up your kitchen materials and your couch. You give kids caffeinated donuts, and it's basically like giving a puppy heroin. You know, it's just going to be a nonstop rocket going into space.
Puppy heroin. 2 words I never thought I would hear together.
You know what? How about that as the name of our episode? I'm putting it in the doc right now. Puppy heroin. The name of this week's.
Let's do it.
Oh, okay. And you know what, Andrew?
I am a fan of this. While you were speaking about little kids, you gave me the idea. I'm going to buy these and give them to my nephews and niece when I have them, and then give them back to my brother. But I was actually kind of hoping it was going to be the powdered donuts, the white powdered donuts that would have the caffeine in them. I could imagine all the great TikTok videos.
Makes sense. I mean, it looks like cocaine, and it gives you all the caffeinated energy that you're looking for. So there you go. Your cocaine donuts. Cocaine donuts and puppy heroin this week on The Anything Show. How about that, Andrew?
You know what? That is a buffet of deliciousness right there.
Okay, I wrote puppy heroin on the show prep doc. How about you write cocaine donuts?
Cocaine donut.
Yeah. All right, if you have a headline that you want to share with us, facebook.com/The Anything Show, Instagram and TikTok at Anything Show Francois. John here with Andrew, and coming up later on, we got our great conversation with Tim Bysiegel, a fellow podcaster of ours. He is the host of 3 wonderful podcasts, 2 of which we spent some time talking about: the Pop Culture Addicts podcast and the Funny Science Fiction podcast. Stay tuned for our conversation with Tim. He was such a fabulous specimen of species to talk to. But right now, Andrew, I don't know. Do we have to do sponsors, or do we just go right into Let's Get Viral? Oh, yeah. We go right into Let's Get Viral. Yeah. I mean, we love our sponsors, but we don't want to like override you or overwhelm you with some sponsor love, because then, Andrew, that's when people choke.
That is when they choke. They have too much chaser and not enough. I don't know.
Wait, what? Too much chafing and not enough what? What were you saying?
I actually didn't know where that one was going.
All right. Well, I know.
I started the roadie, and then I got off on the exit, and I just don't know what happened.
That's okay. Let me steer you back toward viruses. How about that?
Yes, let's do it.
Yes, it's time for Let's Get Viral, y'all. Viral videos of the week right here on The Anything Show. We start off with this very brief clip. Memorable, though. We ask ourselves often if it's okay to break into song while sitting in a restaurant. According to this teenager's mom, the answer is no. And I am just kind of sad, because I like people who just do it up in public like it's nobody's business.
Caught a vibe. Baby, are you coming for Brittany, the ride?
We are freaking out for dinner. What are you doing?
I think she was singing. She might have been singing that hit song right now from The Anxiety called Meet Me at Our Spot. Like, she was singing a little bit of that. Let me listen to that again.
Caught a vibe. Baby, are you coming for
Brittany,
the ride?
we are freaking out for dinner. What are you doing?
Andrew, would you be the type of guy to sing publicly at a restaurant?
No. I am with the mom on this one, to be honest with you.
Oh.
I don't feel it's appropriate to burst out in the song anywhere. This is not Disney.
Okay. I mean, but sometimes when you got the sang in your system, you just got to let it out.
Yeah, but I can see it, letting it out. But you know what you do? You pick up your glass of water and you swallow it back down.
Wow. Oh, man, you sound like a strict religious teacher that just doesn't want to have any fun at the moment. Oh, my God.
Look, pray that song away. You don't let that out at the table, especially that song. If it was a better song, then maybe.
Yeah. There's two things you can pray away: gays and restaurant songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we got this more singing actually. A woman actually recorded herself trolling a phone scammer with her amazing singing voice. I mean, this is a brilliant way to really distract scammers from, scamming you.
Can you tell me if this is if my voice is good? Just real quick, because I'm practicing for a big show.
You don't want to cancel, ma'am?
No, I do. I just want to practice my voice real quick because I have a big show and I need to sing the song. Ready? Is it good?
Just sing again.
Okay. Or are you having your friends listen to it? What do they think?
Oh, nice.
Thank you. So you think I'm going to win the competition?
Just give me 1 minute, ma'am. Right.
Was she singing some Asian medley? I was trying to figure out what she was singing, Andrew.
It sounds very, I hope I'm saying this correctly. It sounds like a Hindu melody or hymn. Because it sounds like something I've heard in a Bollywood film.
Something like that. Okay. Well, either way, the scammer was distracted, and now this woman has saved herself maybe $10,000. So thank you, woman, and hopefully your Hindu singing music career goes well. Alrighty, we get to, so here's the thing, Andrew. Now, when I say Seven Nation Army from the White Stripes, do you know what I'm talking about?
Fantastic song.
Now, here's
Delicious.
the thing. I did not know what the hell that was when I looked at the title, but when I listened to the song, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard this song a million times. Now, for those of you listening who don't know what I'm talking about, trust me, once you hear it, you'll know, oh yeah, it's that song that I've listened to. Now imagine the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army, by the Device Orchestra guy. This guy took this very popular song and he performed it using 7 electrical devices. What you're going to hear is Seven Nation Army on 2 electric toothbrushes, 2 credit card machines, 2 typewriters, and 1 steam iron. Take a listen. This is fabulous. Insane. I kid you not. That is Seven Nation Army on electric toothbrushes, credit card machines, typewriters, and 1 steam iron. Like, what were you thinking when you listened to that, Andrew?
That was amazing. It felt like I was listening to a version of the song from an 8-bit video game, and I love it.
Oh, God, it's so awesome. All right, well, we go to the Super Bowl. Andrew, did you care about the Super Bowl, or are you just kind of like, eh?
You know what? I didn't even watch the episode. I was trying, and for some reason, these season finales, I'm just not a fan. I'll catch the reunion.
Okay. Here you go. Here he goes again with a football game, confusing it for an episode of The Walking Dead.
It's the Real Housewives of Pigskin. Like, the girls, we know what they're doing.
I like that. You know what? I would actually watch the Super Bowl Sunday if it was renamed as the Real Housewives of Pigskin County.
I would watch. I would love that.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, let's see what happened here. So on Super Bowl Sunday, the Rams versus the Bengals. Congratulations to the Rams for winning. This LA Rams fan was in the hospital holding his newborn daughter while watching the big game. The baby was born 12 hours before kickoff, and when it's clear that the Rams are going to win the whole thing, the man starts to scream. But, because the baby is sleeping, the wife is like, hey, honey, I know you're excited, but hush, we have a sleeping baby that we have to take care of.
Baby.
Yeah. Reminds me of, I think the first night I had sex with Tony, and her brother used to live right across from us, and and basically all screams had to be stifled like that. So, yep, traumatic. I know, and I'm sorry, Tony, for revealing that, but hey, that's the first thing I thought of. I mean, don't you just hate it, Andrew, when you have the urge to scream and you just have to hold it all in? Andrew?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's kind of fun.
You like holding the screams in?
I mean, sometimes it's kind of fun. Like, when you're screaming in an environment you're not supposed to scream, it's very titillating to have to hide it.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I guess that thrill of like, oh my God, I'm so turned on and this is such greatness, but I gotta hide it. I guess that's what causes the excitement, doesn't it?
Kind of. It's like that voyeurism of like, will I be heard? Will they hear me? Can you hear me?
Find out.
It's kind of fun. Now, I didn't see the story going this way. I thought this man was about to do some kind of touchdown dance with the baby and drop the baby. Oh. I was scared.
Well, that would be a different story. I don't even think we would broadcast that video because then we would hear the sound of a dying baby.
Well, maybe the baby would have been injured. I hope no death, but oh my God. This ended a way better way than I thought it was. But that wife is going to beat the crap out of him later.
Nothing like wife abuse, especially when she's done just putting out a baby. I mean, that takes some strength if you have pushed out a baby and then you have the strength to beat the crap out of your husband.
Oh, women are superheroes. Women can lift up cars. I would be very afraid of a woman who just had a baby. They get like super strength.
Exactly. Superman. How about Superwoman? Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Final viral video of the week. We got somebody who posted a doorbell cam on their TikTok of an Amazon driver talking to himself about their beautiful ass house. And this turned out to be the inspirational video that everybody likes because this is basically the driver saying, hey, I like the way your house looks. It inspires me to do better with my life.
I don't know what I'm doing, but this is a beautiful ass house. I just want to let y'all know this inspired me to motivate myself to do better, like for real. It's just off the top. And I brought the wrong damn phone. Y'all have a good one.
All right. I mean, look, this guy could have been complaining. He could have been like, oh man, I'm the 99%, they're the 1%. I'm the have-nots, they're the haves. But this guy chose to take it in a positive direction, Andrew, and say, hey, you know what? That mansion that I'm delivering packages to, I'm going to be in that mansion someday.
I like that. His last little sentence, did he say I live in the wrong home or I brought the wrong damn phone?
I think so. Yeah. One of them black people asides.
I love it. I want to go ahead and hug this Amazon driver.
Yeah.
If he has these aspirations, maybe I'll marry him.
Oh, maybe. His name is Duran, and he's from Los Angeles, and I got his number for you right now, Andrew. You want it?
I'm down. As long as he's not trying to get a movie deal out of this, I'm good with it. Let's do it.
There you go. 555-5555. That's his number. That's Duran. Spelled D-U-R. Iran,
Best spelling ever.
Yeah, right? Oh, God. I'm going to name my child that, and Tony's not going to do anything about it. Duran, Duran and Hydronique. We're going to be the most ghetto people that come from a white mother. Like, I'm going to love it so much.
That would be hilarious. But then at that point, if you name your kids that, Tony is going to get the obligatory I sleep with a black man haircut, and I'm content.
Oh, goodness. I love it. All right. If you have a viral video that you want to send us, facebook.com/TheAnythingShow, Instagram and TikTok @AnythingShow. Francois. John here with Andrew. And before we get to our conversation with Tim, let's do another sponsor shout out. Support for The Anything Show coming from and all thanks to those good old titties. Andrew, you want to talk about titties?
I want to talk about titties because every time we say titties, I grab mine.
Oh, and you have a fistful of titties.
Not anymore. I'm down to an A cup.
Oh, what happened? Did you put a needle and just let the air come out?
No, I started this new craze that the kids are into called working out, and it's just
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to a time, Andrew, where you were a fat ass, sexy man with big ass titties. And what I would tell you is that I would tell Titty Andrew that he needs to go out to that cocktail party and give himself the sticky bra of all sticky bras. And that comes from our good friend Rosie from Perky's. Now, Rosie, the 25-year-old founder of Perky's, she had enough subpar experiences with sticky bras and decided to create a better one. A backless, strapless bra sticking directly to a woman's breast to give shape and support without straps showing. She created the only sticky bra on the market with replacement adhesives. Clean, confident, and comfortable. Perky's has also added reusable nipple covers, 3 shades of nude, and Perky's panties, by the way, Andrew. Seamless underwear, the softest underwear in the game to its line. Now, I hope, Andrew, you don't have titties anymore, but I hope at the very least you have the panties from Perky's.
Oh my God, I want a pair of the panties. I want the mask. And I'm still getting my Perkies. These tits, once I push my A cups together, I get a B. So.
There you go. So, Andrew, when I see you at the wedding, the cocktail party, the date night, whatever, I want you to flash those panties and that sticky bra like it's going to be the last day of your life. Your top is going to typically require a non-traditional bra, so why not get covered by our good friend Rosie at Perky's? We actually interviewed Rosie a few weeks back, so check out that episode wherever you get podcasts, The Anything Show with Jean-Francois, and check out Perky's. Why not? PERKIES.com. I think you can still get 15% off your first purchase. Not a guarantee, but definitely check out the website because you never know. PERKIES.com. Thank you so much to Rosie from Perky's for sponsoring The Anything Show. Andrew, my man, I loved our conversation with Tim. What did you take away from our conversation with podcaster Tim Biesiegel?
I took away some very tasty tidbits about movies that I hadn't seen that now I need to see, but also he's an amazingly fun person who is just super easy to talk to.
Absolutely. And, speaking of movies, I think we touched on the massively popular Spider-Man No Way Home in our conversation with Tim. I believe we talk about his conversation with Carol Baskin. So many tidbits, so many great stuff coming from our conversation right now with Tim Biesiegel from the Funny Science Fiction and Pop Culture Addicts podcast. Thank you so much, Tim, for agreeing to come to this chaos that is The Anything Show. And Andrew, I shall see you there, okay?
I'll see you there.
Tim, you are pretty much at the helm of 3 fabulous podcasts. I've been engaged with 2 of them all throughout tonight, and it's just been a wonderful experience. Let's see. 2 of them are video podcasts. I do know that they're called Pop Culture Addicts and the Funny Science Fiction Podcast. Yes. So the Funny Science Fiction Podcast, you drew my attention not only because you have this kind of arena where you can talk with, friends, with like-minded people about, all things in the world of science fiction, but you also bring on great guests every now and then. You got my attention when you invited Sam Witwer not too long ago. Yeah. Wonderful actor who I know back in high school as the character Doomsday on the show Smallville. Absolutely. And yeah. So, take me to like the beginnings of that podcast. Like, how did you, what made you say to yourself, okay, I got to have an area where I talk about, all things nerd and science fiction with my friends, and along the way, get an opportunity to connect with people like Sam Witwer?
Actually, it kind of happened in reverse, right? So actually, the very first podcast I got started on was my audio only one, which is focused on Forward. I started that after my daughter got out of the hospital. She was in the hospital for 97 days. 33 of them were in the ICU. We nearly lost her twice. And when I came out, to say my head was a bag of cats would be an understatement. So I started this as part of my therapy. My counselor thought it would be a really good idea for me to have a chance to commiserate with other people who had gone through some things, right? Talk with them and be in the moment with them. And through that, I was already part of the Funny Science Fiction Facebook group. We didn't have a podcast yet at the time. And I was helping as a moderator on the page because I'm a nerd. I love sci-fi. I love superheroes. I love Lord of the Rings and, things like that. And, I'm the nerd. And, so the founder of the page Drayton Allen said, hey, my son, him and his wife had some issues with their daughter. He'd be a really great interview for your show Focused on Forward. And so I did that show, and we talked with him about him and his wife being in the ICU with their newborn, the NICU, for I think it was like 3 months, almost 4 months. And that's a long time to be in the hospital. I mean, we were in there for 97 days. So I could kind of, we had a lot of the same footing as we were talking. And we got done with that. He listened to the playback of the interview, and he said, that was really nice to listen to. He says, you're easy to listen to. Have you ever thought about starting a podcast with our group, to talk about sci-fi and, silly stuff like that? And I went, and the running joke has always been, I always said, I got a mic. Why not? Let's do it. So it just kind of happened that way. And originally we started because we thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to be able to talk with people that are creators who are out making the things, right? To be able to talk with the actors, to be able to talk with the authors, the directors, these people who have made the things that I love and that are so much a part of my world, right? And so that's how it started. And then somebody made the suggestion sometime down the line, after I think we were probably close to 15, 20 episodes in. Somebody said, you guys should start doing some live shows, which originally scared the living hell out of me, because I was like, there's no way I'm doing this live. Are you kidding me? What if I screw up? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I can't form a sentence and I'm all tongue tied? And that was the beginning. And now I have far less concern about that. But so we started off doing that. And originally it was just a couple of us just sitting down talking about, hey, I saw this on the show, and we, or this on the trailer, for this movie, or saw that trailer on this, for that. And it kind of grew from there. We went from wanting to be an interview only show to being, well, wouldn't it be cool to have two facets of our show, to have a weekly interview release every Friday morning? We've kept that schedule. But we thought, well, you know what, we should, originally our live shows were on Sunday night, but it was always difficult because somebody always had something to do, on a Sunday, going somewhere with the family, doing something. And so Mondays were just easier. So we shifted over to Monday night. And so every Monday night at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel for Funny Science Fiction, we sit down, we have other podcasters come in, and we talk about, our live show this past week was talking about all the trailers that came out through the Super Bowl. And, so we talked about Doctor Strange. We talked about Moon Knight. We talked about Jurassic World. And then we started talking about some of the DC stuff that came out over the last couple of weeks with Black Adam and the Flash and the Batman. And then we talked about the Book of Boba Fett and how that all wrapped up and concluded. And, so there's definitely two different sides to things. And, we have the interview side, which is pseudo serious. We call it Funny Science Fiction for a reason. We're not afraid to ask the silly, the stupid question, let's go for the chuckle. And then there's the live show side, which is just hopefully, to the audience, it looks and feels like a couple of just a happy table full of nerds sitting around talking like you would, at your best friend's house with a couple of beers. That's what we want it to feel like, and we invite everybody to comment in the comment section. And we try to get as many of those comments up on screen and react to them and include our audience as much as possible.
How old are you, Tim, if I may ask?
I'm 45.
Okay. So I'm 30. Andrew, you're what, 33?
A lady never tells their age.
Okay. So Andrew and I are in our early 30s. How about that? We'll just leave it at that.
30-ish.
30-ish.
Ish.
My point is, I wonder if you could speak to, Tim, this phenomenon of nerd culture. And I think it's safe to say that now it seems much more, fashionable and in to like what's considered to be nerd things like science fiction and such than it was when we were kids. Like, what do you make of that transition? Because I've always found it to be a fascinating thing.
It's kind of humorous, right? When I was growing up, only nerds read comic books. And so I didn't talk about that at school. There was a couple of guys, most of my friends were from other schools and not like the friends that you tell them that, went to the same school as you, but only in Canada, your Canadian girlfriend. But No, it was, I had buddies that went to other schools and they were big comic book heads. And so I would, go over their house and I'd read all their comic books and things like that. But, the guys at school were more into sports and more into, cars, and especially because I live in the country. So very much a redneck school. Right. And, they wanted their big trucks and they wanted to go mud running, and which I enjoyed, doing all that kind of stuff as well. But it was the type of thing, well, if you were a Superman fan or a Batman fan, it's not like today where you can walk, your kids walk into school wearing, a Batman t-shirt, and it's like, oh man, that's a really cool shirt. And when I went to school in the 90s, it was, you're a nerd, so I look at it this way though. Welcome to the party. If you're able now to let your nerd flag fly, welcome to the party. There's a lot more happy people here. There's some toxic folks too. You get that in every group, but you know what? There's more of us than them. So we, have fun with it. Some people do it for fashionable sense. Some people do it because, it's just the end thing to do. I do it because I have been a diehard Star Wars fan since Empire Strikes Back came out. I have lived, breathed, ate, slept Star Wars since I can't remember not having been a Star Wars fan. There were days when I went in, to my mom, Mama, I'm sick. I can't go to school today. Where's my VHS of Star Wars? And watch all 3 movies back to back to back, sitting on the couch with a blanket and some popcorn. To me, that was just part of life.
So are you going to punish me? Because I think back in Connecticut, somewhere, there is a VHS tape of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I am younger than you by
sure.
Just to let you know. So when I think my first introduction to Star Wars was actually the prequels. I didn't know that there was a Star Wars before the prequels until maybe high school, college-ish.
Sure.
So am I accepted in the Star Wars fan universe because of my introduction to the prequels and the fact that I think that they're not actually that bad?
Absolutely are. Here's the thing. I am a staunch believer of zero gatekeeping and love what you love. Okay. So if you love the prequels, more power to you. If you love the sequels, more power to you. If you're only about the OG, the original trilogy, more power to you. Here's the thing. I love all of it. It's Star Wars. And, I can't wait for the next. Now, that's not to say that there hasn't been some parts of Star Wars that when they came out, I was like, yeah, I don't know about that, because I was that way very much so for the Phantom Menace. I had my issues with that movie. I had my issues with Solo when that came out, and I had my issues with The Last Jedi when that came out. But one of the beautiful things about our show is that I have people on that challenge my perspective, and how they see the movies isn't necessarily how I see the movies. And so sometimes it's encouraging and refreshing, right, to have somebody else's opinion on things. And I had a couple different people come on and they said, well, hey, you need to go back and watch Solo and watch it from this perspective. And just that little twist made all the difference in how I saw that movie, and my enjoyment for the movie went up, because I saw it as a really crappy Han Solo knockoff, because Harrison Ford, by the way, is my favorite actor of all time. Han Solo is my favorite character of all time. And so to have Solo movie made without Harrison Ford, that was a major strike one to me. And I was like, I'm not even about this. That's not going to be a thing. I was looking for people to join me in my solidarity and my strike against, all things Star Wars now for a hot minute there, but I gave in and went to the theater and watched it. Because it was Star Wars. But somebody told me, well, you can't look at it that way. There was a couple different things about the movie that I didn't like. And they said, well, try not to look at it that way. Look at it as a heist movie, as a space heist movie. And I went, okay, I can see that. So I went back and I watched it as a space heist movie, not necessarily a Solo origin story, which is partially what it is as well, but it's also very much a heist movie. And I watched it from that perspective, and I actually really enjoyed the movie. It was like a completely different experience. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. So.
Wow. So I need to watch Solo again because I remember watching it in the theaters when it came out. And aside from Donald Glover / Childish Gambino being in the movie as some character, I mean, it was a largely forgettable experience for me. Lando. Thank you. Thank you very much. Lando. So I'll have to watch Solo again. Andrew, what was your question?
Well, see, now I'm like, wow, all these things from Star Wars that I had not known. You have just explained a lot of this to me. So I'm going to try to watch the movies again. But
excellent.
Kind of pertains to that. There's some good movies and some bad movies in like a trilogy or a line of films. And right now I'm watching all Ghostbusters over again.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of it? Have you seen Ghostbusters? And have you seen the most recent movie?
I am not actually a huge fan of the Ghostbusters series. I watched the original. I watched Ghostbusters 2. I have not seen the new one, mainly because I haven't gone to the theater very much. I'm waiting for that to come out where I can watch it in another way. My daughter is autoimmune. So with everything that's been going on the last couple of years, I have to be very cautious about where I go, how I go about doing things. Because after her hospital experience, with her condition, she has a condition called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is an autoimmune response to a viral infection. And with that being done, she's running on about 1 1/4 lungs and autoimmune. And if she were to get COVID in any way, we'd be in a world of hurt. So we try to be very cautious about that. So it's not that I don't want to see it. I just haven't seen it yet. So when it's available for me to watch it in another format, like a theater at home type of thing, movie at home type of thing, I'll probably watch it then. We just started going back to the theaters. We did go see the new Spider-Man at the theater, but only because I was able to reserve seats at that one all the way at the back of the theater away from everybody else. So, we got to experience that at the theater at least. But yeah, I would like to see the new one. I shouldn't say a big fan, but I did enjoy the first one. There's so many quotable lines in that, so yeah, I have some moments in that I really do enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, bouncing off of this new Spider-Man movie, I mean, the success of Spider-Man No Way Home has just blown me away because I've never seen a movie that has become like this gigantic globally,
right?
And B, considering the fact that throughout the pandemic, it's been very, very tough for movies to make any decent kind of money in the theaters. The fact that you have this movie coming during the pandemic, when I think that there have been other superhero movies that have been released within the last 2 years, but then you have something about Spider-Man No Way Home that just comes in, and all of a sudden you hear that it's the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time. Now, from your perspective as the guy, as one of many who's watched the movie, what were your thoughts? I mean, is there something in that movie that you can say to yourself, okay, yes, I can see why this movie is as successful as it is?
Yeah, and the great thing is we can talk about this now. It's been out so long, I don't have to say spoiler warning anymore. Excuse me. So the thing that I loved about the movie is that it was a chance at redemption for Tobey Maguire. It was a chance at redemption for Andrew Garfield, because for both of those actors, their first movies were pretty good. Past that, the sequels to their own movies were pretty forgettable, especially Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire. That's just a train wreck hellscape of a movie. So for me, it was, and Tobey's been crapped on for years and years. I don't think he's the best Spider-Man. Actually, I really enjoy Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And I really enjoy Tom Holland as Spider-Man. So to be able to get them, all 3 of them, into this movie and to make it work pretty seamlessly. I mean, there's a couple little hiccup here and there, but for the most part, I thought it was a really awesome opportunity for redemption for their characters and their story arcs and the way that those things were built off of them. So, and I know Tom Holland's like, the Spider-Man right now, but I wouldn't even mind, because of the way that this multiverse thing is shaping up, I wouldn't mind seeing another Andrew Garfield story written properly, not the Spider-Man 2 trash that we were handed, but in that kind of storyline. I think it's a great opportunity for that to happen. If it doesn't, no worries. But at least we got this story where it's setting off something and so perfectly the way that it's going to hand off into Doctor Strange and the the multiverse of madness, the multitude of madness. I knew what I was trying to say. Anyway, but I think that the handoff there between those two movies is almost seamless. From what I've seen in the trailer for Doctor Strange, it seems like it's just like the handing of the baton from one movie to the next. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all comes about. And so that to me is the strong suit. It was very well written. It brought back characters like, Jamie Foxx, and the way that Electro was so problematic in the other movie. And to see him actually be played in a way that didn't suck was pretty cool. And, I think they even did a really good job of bringing in the Sandman from Toby's series and made that actually better. So yeah, that to me, I think is probably the highlights.
Yeah, and I think they brought back William Dafoe what was his name? William Dafoe as the Green Goblin. They brought him back.
He did a really good job with that. Yeah, he was solid in the original one too. So I mean, there wasn't much for him to have to redeem or anything like that. But it was just nice to see the nod to the original, the original Spider-Man villain for us. Right? So to see that and be brought back and see him still get to be the bad guy was kind of nice. I liked it.
Andrew,
hi. Now you just sold me on the Spider-Man movie. I have not seen Spider-Man, so I need to go see that. Or I'm going to find it illegally. We'll stream it somehow. But it brings me to a question. In the Spider-Man universe, I personally think Carnage is the best hero ever. And I use that term in my language. I see he's the hero. Who is person in the Spider-Man universe that you're leaning to that's a favorite of yours?
I've always liked Venom. I've always thought Venom was really cool. That's another reason why I hate Spider-Man 3, because that was just a craptastic version of the shell of what Venom should have been. I like Tom Hardy's version of Venom. I think that's really good. I have not seen the sequel yet. Again, I'm waiting to be able to watch it in another way. I'm very hyped and excited for that, and I'm waiting, and it's so excited to see now. Okay, so because you haven't seen Spider-Man, I have to say, spoiler warnings. There's a post-credit scene involving Venom you have to watch. It's awesome. Anyway, all right, now back to what I was saying. But I've always thought Venom was really cool. I'm easily sidetracked. You'll find that out the more you talk with me. But I've always thought Venom was cool. In video games, where as soon as I could unlock Venom character, Venom, and technically I'll include this next character because they included him in the Ultimate Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man stuff. Luke Cage. I've always been a big Luke Cage fan. And so the second I could unlock those two characters, hell yeah, I was going to play with them because they have some cool powers and they had some cool things that they could do. And, Venom being able to, send his suit out to grab things and pull it back. And yeah, that to me was always really very cool. And, Carnage was, no disrespect, but always just his, crazier, half brother that he didn't want to acknowledge. So
I love it. So, I mean, obviously this is just a sample of the wonderful, entertaining conversation that we can listen to on your funny science fiction podcast.
Like the live shows.
Co-host on the live shows. Yeah. With your co-host Kathleen, and then you'll have some guest co-hosts here and there. What I loved, just to go back to your Sam Witwer interview on the science fiction podcast, what I liked is that you didn't stay within the confines of let's just talk about the sci-fi universe and how Sam contributes to. What I was really drawn to was something I didn't know about Sam, which is his love of collecting music and the fact that he performed in a band. So I wonder if you could share that, and especially if that, was an intention of yours to really dive into his music world there.
So that's the intention on every interview, to be honest with you. So I have always been drawn to stories, and it's not just that when I talk to somebody, it's okay, look, so when it comes to Star Wars, when somebody comes on for Star Wars, I will giggle like a schoolgirl every time somebody comes on because I'm like, you are Sam Witwer. You are Darth Maul. How's it going? And I have to get that all out before we actually start recording because I tried not to fanboy too much on camera. But there's some hardcore fanboying that goes on before we actually hit the record button. I honestly try to work it out out of my system before they even come on screen because I don't want to weird them out being like, what the hell did I sign up for? Right. So, but the intention is every time is I love to hear stories about people. I like to hear what inspires them, what got them to the place where they did what they did that made me want to find out more about them. Right. I want to know what makes people tick. So when I have somebody on the show, number one, if they're on the show, there's a reason why I want to talk to them. They've done something in the sci-fi world. They've been in a movie. They were directed a movie. They wrote a movie. Or a TV show or something that spoke to me. That is part of my fandoms. Or my co-hosts Nick and Kathleen, they have something they want to talk to them about. But typically, even with those interviews, I find something about that person that jumps out to me, and I want to find out about them. And so, two things typically I like to find out: what was their no matter what it is, I want to find out what their background was, what makes them tick as far as being an actor. Was there something that, from growing up where they watched this show or they did this thing and that just spoke to them and that made them want to be an actor? And they do the same thing on Pop Culture Addicts when we have, one of my favorite bands is the band Jane's Addiction. I'm a child of the 90s, huge grunge era fan. And I wanted, we had an opportunity to talk with Stephen Perkins, the drummer from Jane's Addiction, which again, another huge fanboy moment for me. Had to get that all out before he came on screen, talk with him, but finding out what were his musical influences growing up, what made him want to be the musician, the drummer that I know from Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros. Those are two bands that he was in. What made him want to be that guy? It's the same thing with Witwer. Okay. So what were your influences growing up? What made you want to be these things? And especially even with his music, because listening to his different parts of his music, which by the way, his band is called the Crash Tones. There was opportunity to talk to him about that. And what were his musical influences? What were the things that drove him to want to learn how to play the guitar, the drums, the keys, whatever, and be the artist, both actor and musician, that's sitting on the other side of the camera from me. And to me, that's half the fun. Yeah, we can all have the same interview and ask him about the same three lines of Star Wars, the Clone Wars, where he yelled Kenobi or he yelled, whatever, or did this other thing. And those are all cool moments, but he's been asked about those things a million times. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that interview. We try very hard and we make sure that when we're talking to their publicists or whatever, that we try very hard not to ask the Comic-Con questions, where everybody lines up to the mic and they ask the same 5 questions. We try very hard not to be those guys. We want to ask different questions. We want to ask questions that, maybe sometimes give them reason to pause or think or have a more natural reaction than just, yeah, on that season, we did this thing and it was great. Thanks for asking. Next. I want to have an engaging discussion, and I get that by asking questions that are not your typical thing.
Yeah. And along with that, I mean, not only was I fascinated about, Sam's love of, collecting music and listening to it, purely through, vinyl and tape and all that stuff. I mean, I also found out that he has a very passionate love for coffee. So there's just interesting tidbits. Yeah, there's interesting tidbits about, these, these actors, just these fascinating guests that you bring on that you would never know elsewhere. Now, let's go from funny science fiction podcast to the Pop Culture Addicts podcast.
Sure.
I think this was the very first episode, like right off the bat, where you had the one and only Carol Baskin from Tiger King. Yeah. How did you get that booking? Because that's like, she was probably the biggest. She was arguably, along with Joe Exotic, I think her and Joe Exotic were like the biggest stars of 2020. So,
yeah. When I reached out to her, I told her I didn't care about the show. That's not why I wanted to talk with her. I wanted to know. If you listen to the interview, we talk very little about the show because, I mean, there's enough of that stuff out there. There's enough people out. Again, there's enough other people who have already talked about those other things. I wanted to know what was the impact on her life from that show. How did being in America's eyes, affect her moving forward? How did it affect her marriage? How did it affect her business? How did it affect her moving forward? And, did she take any pride, though, from knowing that during the pandemic, during the height of the quarantine and the lockdown where everybody was trapped in their homes, not only was she entertaining America through, the Tiger King, but then she also went off to do Dancing with the Stars afterwards. And so 2 different ways in 2020 and early 2021, she was entertaining America. And did she take any pride from that? And so those are the things that we talked about, what was the impact on her life and some of the things that she's working towards in the animal rights side of things. So, yeah, there was very little talk about Joe Exotic. And matter of fact, in my opinion, Tiger King is a hit piece. It's not an accurate representation of I think who she is, because I found her to be very engaging, very intelligent, very easy to talk to. And I really enjoyed our conversation. And I think the simple fact that I approach it the way I did is how we got the interview, because I wasn't looking to blow this up and make a big stink about her being on Tiger King. Yeah, I call the episode the Tiger Queen. I mean, why wouldn't I? I mean, that's kind of the point there. But it wasn't the focus of the conversation. And it was finding out, how did you get into the big cat business? How did you, again, what was your backstory? What led you to this point? What got you here?
Yeah. And literally what you're saying, the more human that you have of Carole Baskin, I mean, that was what I was drawn to while watching the interview. I was watching the interview, observing Carole, your interaction with her. And I was saying to myself, oh my God, this could not be more different than the Carole that's portrayed on Tiger King. Because if you look at Tiger King, you think, basically you think of Carole Baskin as what Joe Exotic thinks of Carole Baskin, which is, hey, there's that. Yeah. Here's that bitch Carole Baskin,
right.
This crazy lady from Big Cat, likes all these big cat things and allegedly killed her ex-husband and yada, yada, yada. And then, your conversation with her brought a perspective that I never really thought about, which was, oh, wait a minute. I think that, what ended up happening with Tiger King was a sensational hit piece, as you mentioned. So, Andrew, what was your...
So I listened to the interview that I was watching as well, and I love it because you didn't focus on Tiger King. I think that whole thing is a train wreck mixed with the Titanic and probably an atmosphere. It is just bad. I've done meth and I was more lucid than that. So it's just like, whoa. But one of the segments of your podcast that I love as well is your 5 at 5s. They are so fun and good to watch. What makes you go into that concept of doing a 5 for 5 video along with the co-host?
Well, that's actually credit to our editor, my co-host Kathleen. So Kathleen and I host Pop Culture Addicts together. We also host Funny Science Fiction together along with our buddy Nick. So, we wanted to get into more than just, again, like what we do on Funny Science Fiction. So we have the interview side of things, but we wanted to have another side of things where we did something different. And Kathleen's husband, John, who edits all of our video interviews and our audio stuff, and he gets all that together. He goes, why don't you guys just do a simple, like a 5 for 5 thing on Friday, your 5 points of whatever it is, pop culture that, floats your boat that week. And I'm like, so just one of us sits down and talks, just not both of us? I said, now is it both of us, or do we sit down, one of us, or how do we do this? And he's like, no, just one of you, and sit down and record what your thoughts are. And I was like, oh yeah, that I can do. I can talk a lot. So yeah, that's basically how it came about. And so, we've had ones that were particularly of interest to us. Like Kathleen's a big tabletop gamer, so she did one about tabletop games. I did one about, I was a huge fan of, and still am a huge fan of the show How I Met Your Mother. And so I did one about the show How I Met Your Father and why I'm struggling with that show. I did one about the Book of Boba Fett, the 5 things that I appreciate about that show, even though there's a lot of people who have some negative things to say about it, and that's fine. That's their opinion. Yeah. They're welcome to it. She did a couple. We did a tribute to Betty White. We did a tribute to Bob Saget. A couple of unfortunate losses there, but we shared the things that about them that were kind of important to us and what we liked about each of those people. And so the 5 for 5 is just kind of a fun thing that we do every week, and it's just a nice little bit of content that's we try to keep it under 10 minutes. Actually, under about 7 minutes is the goal, where it's just getting on, talking, a quick hit piece for people to get out and listen and kind of see our personalities at play and the things that kind of make us tick. My last one was about Star Wars. My one before that was about the band Stone Temple Pilots. Again, I'm a child of the 90s. I'm a huge grunge fan. And, so being able to talk about Scott Weiland and my 5 favorite cover songs away from, Stone Temple Pilots that Scott Weiland did. So it was kind of a natural thing for me.
Awesome.
I love it. You know what? You're giving me so much to look forward to, Tim, with your work, man. I mean, I'm such a big fan of your content. And what can we look forward to next? Yeah, what can we look forward to next with Pop Culture Addicts and with Funny Science Fiction? Because I'm pretty sure those listening right now are, wondering like, oh, what's the next big guest, and what's the next big sci-fi take you're going to have?
Well, so for Funny Science Fiction, we've got our live show every week is kind of it's never really scheduled as to what we're going to talk about. We have guests coming on from other podcasts, but it's always decided like a day or two before. Just, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. Here's the topic. Come ready for battle, and friendly battle, but battle. And so it's always just and again, part of that is done intentionally because we want to have the off the cuff conversations where it's just natural flowing conversation as we go. However, on the interview side of things, this week we have this Friday, which will be the 19th, I think, February 19th, we're releasing an interview with Cameron Bicondova, who is Selena Kyle from TV's Gotham.
Oh, hey. Yeah. So I almost saw her in person at a Comic-Con in my home state of Connecticut, but it was like $40 to get an autograph with her.
Yeah. So we had a really cool conversation with her. And again, some of the questions are Selena based, but one of the things, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for anybody who's, going to catch the episode. One of the cool things for me is to find out that she was part of a dance crew, and before she got into acting or, really got into acting, and, and talk to her about that and, why she loves to dance and what are her influences? What led her to appreciate dance and be so involved, with that. We also have an interview coming up with Eric Avare, which, the name you may not recognize, but he's a fantastic character actor in the world of sci-fi. You probably know him best for the movie Stargate. He was the chief on the planet who was trying to help the soldiers, learn the ways. And so he played the older chief there. He's also, or him from Mr. Deeds. He's Cecil Anderson, the older fella, with the chin beard there. That was kind of cool. But yeah, he's been in a lot of cool things. We had a really awesome conversation with Eric, and we have an interview coming up with Taylor Gray, who plays Ezra Bridger in Star Wars Rebels, which is the main character of Star Wars Rebels. So we have that all coming up, and there's a few others coming as well that are really very cool. We've got some things in the work. I don't want to say who those are yet because we don't have them booked, and I'm not, in the words of Michael Scott from The Office, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. So I don't like putting it out there until I know for sure that that's what's coming. And then on Pop Culture Addicts, we've got some really cool stuff coming up. We recently interviewed Thomas Tulloch, who played Too Small in the movie Hook. with Robin Williams, and he played the smallest of the Lost Boys. We talked with him about that. We just booked, and so we haven't done the interview yet, but I booked it, so I'll talk about it. So hopefully it'll happen, and still, now that I've said it. But we just booked an interview with Daphne Maxwell Reid, who played the second Aunt Viv in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So yeah. So I grew up watching that show. I love The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So excited to be able to have a conversation with her. And again, our whole point, whether it's on the funny science fiction side or the pop culture addict side, is the story. What's the story behind the person? What's, what kind of got him there, So.
And I actually not too long ago interviewed Karen Parsons, who plays Hillary on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Well done, you. Yeah.
There you go. Well, you know what, Tim Biesiegel, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Can you just remind us how exactly we can find your content?
Sure thing. So Funny Science Fiction and Pop Culture Addicts are both available on YouTube and your favorite audio podcast provider. You can find them anywhere. If you're interested in connecting with us on Twitter, that's honestly the best social media site to do it. You can check us out at Funny Sci-Fi for Funny Science Fiction. And for Pop Culture Addicts, it's at PCA Pod Show. And if you're interested at all in stories of people overcoming everyday stuff and working through trauma and issues and addictions and things like that, check out my other show called Focused on Forward, where we talk to people, everyday people who have overcome some crap. And that's available. It's an audio only podcast that's available on your favorite audio podcast provider, or you can check us out on Twitter at Podcast FOF.
The Anything Show with John Francois is on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. Join us on YouTube, Facebook.com/The Anything Show, and Instagram and TikTok at Anything Show Francois. Join Andrew Vandertunt on Lifestyle of a Gay Black Boy wherever you get podcasts, and on Instagram and TikTok at AJ Vandertunt.